Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. As always, I'm Grestar and this is another reaction to a death battle, Deku vs Asta. As always, the link to the original is in the description below. So yes, Deku from My Hero Academia versus Asta. Asta? I'm going with Asta for now, from Black Clover. So I have watched almost the entirety of My Hero Academia up to this point. I was a good ways behind, but then a friend of mine was like, no, we should watch together. And so thanks to that motivation, I was able to. Huzzah! But I'm still, we're we're at the current season. We just need like those 6 episodes or I don't know, something like that. And we haven't seen the OVAs either. But I've seen 2 of the movies, not that that matters. It doesn't matter. I'm non-canon. But I haven't read any of the manga. So anything that's happened there that hasn't happened in the anime or that's happened within like the last, again, 6 episodes or so of the anime, I'm unfamiliar with. As for Asta, I started watching Black Clover, and then he was incredibly annoying. I watched the sub for both. So Japanese voices, English subtitles. And I found his voice so annoying that I quit watching it. And then I started up again after a little, I gave myself a break, you know? I started up again, and then either it got better or I got more used to it. I still didn't watch very far. I got to the point where even though he's not a magic user, he was given this dark tome or something, you know, it shows him. So I'm like, I don't know, right? Something like that. But yeah, so I really don't know what Asta's capable of. However, if I had to guess, which I do, it's my thing, then I'm leaning toward Asta winning. I was already leaning toward Asta winning. I'm hoping that Deku will win, that I'll be surprised and that Deku will win because I like him more as a character. But I thought he was going to win. I like Asta, and then I read the comments and people were like, yeah, Asta's definitely going to win. He's he has all these stats over Deku, and it makes sense to me. I mean, even from what very little I saw, Asta already seemed to be getting powerful. And again, I did not watch a lot. And so assuming that the anime just kept going in that trajectory, then yeah, of course he's going to get super powerful. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see. I'll still give it my best bet to hold back on making any firm decisions just now. We'll watch the analyses, you know, each individual analysis portion for the 2 characters. We'll try to determine the victor based upon what we learned there. So with that, let's get to watching. So here we go for another death battle, Deku versus Asta. Take it away.
Deku, My Hero Academia's super student, straight out of UA High.
That's right.
Asta, the
Asta! Okay,
from
cool.
Black Clover.
Though you may be born bereft of the same gifts as your peers, there is nothing stopping you from achieving your dreams.
As long as
well,
you're a fictional character in
he
a
got
fantasy
powers.
I mean,
originally, I actually thought the story of My Hero Academia was going to be he doesn't have powers, but he loves superheroes. I thought it was going to be a super intelligent sort of Light from Death Note, where he uses his knowledge of other heroes and just his quick thinking to be a hero anyway. But no, he gets superpowers.
Wanted only one thing from life. To be a beacon of
and
hope,
I like
just
it this way, but I think I could have also really liked it the other way. Because I like intelligent main characters.
He was born a freak with no powers.
And he still is intelligent,
right.
Don't get me wrong.
This is like a reverse X-Men thing where 80% of the population gets rad superpowers, or quirks as they're called.
Yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily rad.
Bitches, or as his spiky
most of them are really dumb.
Deku.
That's a pun on the
but
Japanese
some of
word
them,
Dekunobu, meaning
some
good
of them.
for nothing.
Persevering despite his basic bitchedness, Midoriya got the chance to prove his
I don't think it was good for nothing. I thought it was based on Dekiru. I thought Ochako suggested it, and it meant, you know, I can do it.
Particular almighty onlooker.
His body
Did I forget an earlier negative
injury.
part?
All Might needed to find the one who would inherit his all-powerful quirk.
And All Might didn't want just anybody. The hero world was filled with glory seekers in it for fame and money.
Yeah.
All Might wanted someone whose body moved on its own to save someone.
He saw exactly that in young Midoriya, and gave him one of the most powerful quirks in the world. One for all.
That's
that
right.
was the problem. Even after bulking up from lad to Chad, the recoil from even one punch would shatter all the bones in his arm. So he trained to be able to handle his gift at the superhero school of his dreams, UA High.
And that's when he decided to own the name used as a cudgel against him for so many years. Turns out, Deku can also be an abbreviation for Dekiru, someone who can do anything.
Oh, so I did just miss
the
the...
opposite of Dekunobu.
Or not miss, but but I
Deku to
forgot.
release absolutely absurd amounts of strength from different parts of his body, with super moves.
I guess
named
that makes
after
sense since
USA's
Bakugo, yeah,
instead.
he was calling
Deku
him that
still
for
can't access all of his
good
power
time.
safely, though. Using 100% will quickly destroy his body, which is why he learned to distribute his strength evenly across his body, a technique known as full cowling.
Yes.
This lets him increase his speed and durability as well, making him more all-rounded, and shifting focus to his own interpretation of One For All inspired by his pal Ida, shoot style.
Where
'Cause he
pulls
kept
out a
breaking
glove
his
and blows
arms.
your brains out. Okay, not really, but in keeping with One For All's rabbit theme, he trades All Might's signature punches for kicks. My version's better. You ever seen Rabbit versus Gun? I have. And I know how
Oh
it plays
no.
out.
Considering the much higher muscle mass of a human's legs, shoot style allowed Deku to output even more power while giving his arms a break. A break from a break.
Yes.
And despite being
Right.
a classic melee build, Deku can fight at range by punching powerful gusts of air and even precisely aim them with specially designed gloves.
Deku has an encyclopedic knowledge of quirks and is always analyzing their strengths.
Which
and
I love
weaknesses
those
in
moments of the
battle,
anime.
even if he does sound a little weird.
It's great
Despite
though. It's
only
great.
barely getting accepted in the first place, Deku quickly became one of Class 1A's most dependable fighters. Because, yeah, somehow these students are constantly getting drafted into literal wars against murderous supervillains.
Yeah.
Midoriya's successes in battle against ruthless criminals like Stain, Muscular, and Overhaul came much to his
The Muscular
old bully's
scene makes
chagrin.
me cry
Where
every
Bakugo
time I
was
watch
a
it.
child prodigy, he now found himself overshadowed by his hard-working rival, and the two would use their mutual respect and animosity to motivate each other to get stronger.
Classic frenemies. They're only
Yep.
solving their problems by pounding the living tar out of each
Hey,
other.
Bakugo would never
Luckily
call
for
him a
Deku
friend,
soon
but
learned that living tar pounding wasn't the only thing he could do. Turns out, One For All did not originate with All Might. It had been passed down 8 times until it arrived at
Well,
Deku,
turns
with
out, no,
each
we knew
inheritor
that.
also
We-
carrying the previous user's
what I
natural
didn't know
quirk
though
as
was that their
well.
quirk
Like
also
Black
passed
Whip,
along if
which
they
lets
had
him
one.
manifest crazy
Black Whip is the
long,
only one I've
strong
seen in the
energy
anime so
tendrils to
far.
tie enemies up and
Or
swing around
aside
the
from
city,
the usual
or shoot one out of
strength
his
thing.
mouth, just like our girl Fruppy.
Oh,
And
haven't seen that
Danger
either.
Sense, which gives him a minor reactive precognition.
AKA,
Interesting.
he's Spider-Man. Not even a reach. The mangaka is like the biggest Spidey fan ever.
He can also produce a smoke screen to mask his presence, float in midair, or store kinetic energy over time.
What's he doing?
Oh,
Are you okay?
Like that.
Is Wiz okay?
By storing up enough, he can even match All Might's max power without any recoil to boot. Strong
Oh.
enough to change the weather and create city block-sized tornadoes with a single punch.
and he's even stronger with his newest quirk, Gear Shift, which allows him to increase the speed of an object anytime he touches it. In
Oh.
conjunction with the power of All For One, he can use this to warp reality itself. Deku can go toe-to-toe with
How so?
arch-villains like Shigaraki, who's fast enough to react to and catch laser beams with his bare hands.
But nothing could prepare him for All Might's archenemy, the shadowy leader of the League of Villains, All For One.
All Might only ever showed his young pupil kindness and support, but that couldn't change the absolutely crushing pressure Deku felt at every moment.
Even classically trained dickhead Bakugo came to help his teammate out when he needed it. Like when they teamed up to share One For All.
Okay, but
and
that's
punch an
non-canon.
island-sized hole in the clouds 24 miles high.
Just goes to show that even One For All isn't a one-man army. Deku's true strength comes from his teamwork between himself and his friends.
And with their help, Deku will surely become that beacon of hope he dreamt about as a child.
One hero for all mankind.
Yeah. See, Deku's great. I love him.
Magic! You know
Magic,
it, you
yes.
love it. And in the world of Black Clover, it doesn't come from a box you bought at a tacky West Hollywood costume
Imagine
shop.
that.
Everyone's got it.
Mana is the source of all magic, a supernatural energy found
Why
in
did
the
they need
air
the jiggle
and in
there?
living
They
beings.
didn't.
Except living beings whose names are Asta.
Not only was the young Asta an orphan abandoned by his mother at a church as a baby, he was born with a mutation that prevents him from having any mana to speak of.
Rip.
Well, neither do I, and you don't hear me crying about it.
Yes, you do, all of the time.
Yeah.
But Asta had a dream.
I feel that.
Despite his lack of magic, he and his best friend Yuno promised each other one of them would rise to the throne of the greatest military
I
position
mean, one
in
thing
the
I did
land,
like about
the
what little I saw of
Wizard
Black
King.
Clover was that from the
Wizard King?
beginning
Really,
he
guys?
was a
Sometimes they call it
hard-blooded
Magic
worker.
Emperor, but we all know what they mean.
So he dedicated himself to getting swole as all hell.
Yeah.
In a world of nerds, he would be its lone jock god, shoving every last wizard into a locker until they crowned him king.
But huge, frightening pectorals on a tiny, screaming goblin child weren't enough on its own. He
Tiny
needed
screaming
something
goblin child is
powerful
very
enough to
accurate.
shut down his opponent's magic.
He needed the 5-leaf clover grimoire.
Essentially a book of spells, a grimoire will choose its user and float beside their wielder at all times.
And Asta was lucky enough to receive the Uno reverse card of grimoires. The 5-leaf clover can harness the power of anti-magic, which will literally nullify the effects of other magic spells.
Okay.
Almost like wizard kryptonite. Let the lockers
Very useful for the one who can't use magic, yeah.
Nerds!
It wasn't long before Asta was accepted into one of the 9 squads of Clover Kingdom's Magic Knights, the Black Bulls, filled with lazy drunkards, antisocial otakus, and literal sociopaths.
Oh,
My
good.
kind of people. Mostly. But much like with Asta, you shouldn't judge a grimoire by its cover. And soon they were all working together and kicking ass like a family should.
Asta harnesses the power of anti-magic by summoning swords imbued with it from the grimoire.
Okay.
Normally, these swords would quickly drain the mana from anyone foolish enough to wield them.
But because
Asta
he
does not have any mana,
Yeah.
turning his greatest weakness into a one-of-a-kind strength.
He's got his classic Demon Slayer, an enormous greatsword which cuts through spells with its edge and deflects them with its flat. Or the Demon Dweller, which can also absorb and copy magic, then toss it right back to sender.
I think my personal favorite is the more complex Demon Destroyer, which severs the relationship between a spell's cause and effect, countering the effects of its magic. This could result in anything from healing a village that was inflicted with poison to preventing reincarnation.
Yeah, okay, some of these can get
Okay.
a little heady. I personally prefer keeping it simple, like using anti-magic telekinesis to surf on your sword to the sky.
Okay,
It's
sure.
worth noting that these swords are made specifically for countering magical attacks and sources of mana.
Right,
The
I've thought
swords will
about
act
that.
as though blunted when striking non-magical foes, more akin to giant clubs than actual blades.
Interesting.
Not entirely inconsistent with real-life greatswords.
But none of that's even close to as cool as his deadliest sword, the Demon Slasher, a katana as black as the pits of hell and twice as badass.
This one actually does cut like a sword, but it's complicated. It
Okay.
lets us to actually select what he does and does not want to cut, only affecting his target while leaving anything else unharmed.
Really?
Okay, at this point, isn't that just magic?
Magic with a loophole.
Yeah, yeah.
Studied the blade long enough to become a master swordsman to boot. Not in the real life sense, in the anime sense.
He
Right,
can
of
spin
course.
himself like a tornado to deflect magic spells, thrust forward at top speed like a charging bull, launch a barrage of anti-magic projectiles, and even channel anti-magic into his swords to vastly increase their size.
Oh boy,
Well, while he
okay.
may be no good with mana, he has learned to detect ki. Because of course.
The life force existing in all things. Asta
Okay.
can detect hidden opponents and even predict their movements ahead of time, as long as he's fast enough to react.
With such crazy powers, Asta was taking on threats like the Eye of the Midnight Sun, the Devil Zagrid, and the Dark Triad. So many nerds, never enough lockers. Too bad for Asta though, he had one serious inner demon.
Literally, housed within the 5-leaf clover grimoire was Liba, a demon exiled from hell for completely lacking magical powers,
Okay.
and who just so happened to get adopted by Asta's mother.
Until he got
Really?
possessed by a different demon and killed her. Vowing vengeance on all demonkind, Liba manifested anti-magic from his hatred as a way to kick their asses.
Oh.
Which gave him and Asta a lot of common ground, despite the whole, mom murder thing.
In fact, the two became true brothers and formed an unstoppable duo. Liba can actually fully merge with Asta for a massive power boost that lasts up to 5 minutes, at the cost of leaving Asta nearly powerless for the next half hour.
Okay.
Come on, I want it. Yeah, I'll
What I'm
take
still
it if
waiting
I
for
can.
though are
He's
like
strong enough to
we've
slice
gone over his
buildings to
swords and
pieces,
such. We didn't go over his
obliterate
speed
huge
or like
chunks of
actual
earth,
strength
Tear
yet.
the most powerful demons apart. Give me the goddamn book. I'm the book boy, okay?
Even characters earlier in the series like
Still
Patol
waiting.
had magic capable of completely vaporizing the entire Clover Kingdom in a single attack. And
Oh.
demons that Asta has fought since then, like Dante and Lucifero, are leagues stronger.
Hell, screw all these demon forms and anti-magic powers. Asta's body is so incredibly well trained, he dodged a beam of light while sleeping. As in, he was asleep, and the force of his sneeze pushed his head out of the way of a beam of light.
Oh.
Light speed sneezes, everyone.
I mean, he
And
didn't
despite
dodge
his
it then.
headstrong and
Like he avoided it,
irritating
but it wasn't like an
personality,
intentional
AKA
thing.
screaming at the top of his lungs as often as possible.
Asta is an intelligent fighter who has leveraged his skill against far more experienced foes.
But he wouldn't be anywhere without the ragtag band of deviants he calls friends. With them at his side, there's no way he won't climb the ranks to take the Wizard King's throne. Especially with Yuno pushing them both to get stronger.
Of course, yeah.
Unlike other classic shonen rivalries, this one isn't tainted by antagonism. They truly want what's best for each other, even if they're
Which is
competing
nice.
for the same throne.
Yuno's gonna need all the luck he can get, cause even if Asta never gets mana of his own, his true magic is never given up.
Cool, alright. Thank
All
goodness
right,
for the
combatants
feats
are
part at
set
the
in
end.
front of Data's
That's
raw
exactly what I needed.
possibilities.
It's time for a death battle! And pause. Okay, so I think that Asta is going to win. Again, cleared up right at the end there by the feat section. I was waiting the entire time, and finally they gave us some, like, strength and speed feats. So if he's if he is powerful enough that a sneeze can help him dodge Beam of Light while he's sleeping, I'm pretty sure that he could dodge dodge something that's moving at the speed of light while he's awake and focused and whatnot. He even has, like, the ability to sense ki, and so he has limited precognition, which I know that Deku had to an extent too, and so, like, at the very least, we just cancel those out for each other. We don't have to worry about them, right? But I don't think that Deku is moving at light speeds, and here we have that Asta is. And not only, like, is he capable of it, but he's more, familiar with having to do so, because I read a little box on the top right corner that even though they're magic spells, light spells are actually treated as light as far as, like, their speed, being able to, like moving in a straight line, reflecting off mirrors, that kind of thing. So I think that Asta just has more experience in dealing with things that move at light speeds. His sword that can actually cut through stuff, I was gonna say anything, but I don't know if that's actually the case, but he can choose, like, what it does cut through and what it ignores. I think that that would be able to, like, you know, cut through Deku, you know? Because Deku, like, he's still, like, let's take Stain, for instance, right? Deku got cut up by Stain, and Stain wasn't, like, super strong or anything. He didn't have a magical sword. It was just, he was a dude, and he had a sword, you know? And, like, to my knowledge, well, yeah, I'm gonna stand firm on this. Yes, Stain did have a quirk, but his quirk was not super strength. His quirk was that he would paralyze people if he tasted their blood, depending on their blood type. That was his quirk. And now I do have this theory. I mean, it's kind of just because it's anime, right? My Hero Academia. But my theory is that anyone with a quirk has, or really maybe just anyone, period, and that's their quirk, and just no one knows about it because everyone has it. But it's that you have a higher, like, ceiling for how strong you can get, how fast you can get, how durable you can get, you know? Because it's like, there was a part where Deku and Bakugo are fighting, and Deku kicks Bakugo, like, in the side of the head, and Bakugo just force of wills his head, like, to stay in place. It's so stupid. You can't just be like, oh, I'm being kicked by a super strength kick. Thank goodness my neck muscles are so strong. No, Bakugo, that was dumb. That was, like, the only explanation that I can think of, aside from it's anime, is that quirk people just have higher capacity as well. But anyway, the point was that Stain, his thing is not super strength. He just has the paralysis effect if he tastes someone's blood. And he was able to cut Deku with his sword. And so you have someone like Asta, who has, you know, who is far stronger, who is far faster, who has magical demon anti-magic swords, you know? Like, the anti-magic part doesn't really come into play here because Deku does not deal with magic. But even without all of that stuff, just given Asta's experience, like, here's another thing. So one of the things they talked about with Deku was that he was able to, like, destroy a city block. And I know they gave the whole, like, alongside Katsuki, you know, Bakugo, they punched upward and they cleared that hole in the clouds, but that was a non-canon thing. That was from the second, I believe, movie. And that's, you know, I'm pretty sure that it's not canon. They did make it in that movie where, like, if it was canon, it kind of was okay because Bakugo didn't remember the events, like, what had happened. But, and they did the same thing with the first one. But I think those aren't considered canon either way, right? They're certainly never brought up in, like, the main series. But if we're just going off the city block thing, even if we, like, multiply that by a fair bit, they said that early on in Black Clover, Asta was going up against demons or whatnot that were destroyed, that could have destroyed, like, the entire Clover Kingdom. I dare say that's larger than a city block. And he said, he being Boomstick, I think in this case, said that since then, the villains that he goes up against are, like, leagues more powerful. And so, you know, So I just think that even if Deku is actually on par with All Might in terms of speed and strength and whatnot, even if he didn't have to limit himself and could go 100%, like, it sounds to me like Asta, the foes Asta's going up against, all that, is more powerful than Deku and what Deku has been dealing with. So Asta is going to win this one, and bang.
Just Asta has the speed advantage, Asta has the strength advantage, the durability advantage. I don't think he's as smart as Deku, but they both have precognition, so that cancels each other out, you know? Don't have to deal with magic, but he can still cut through Deku. All that stuff.
Hard.
Yes, hit him really hard, exactly.
Man, this guy could give even Luck a run for his money.
It's weird seeing him just reach into the book. I know that's a thing, it's just, yeah.
Aren't swords supposed to be sharp?
Yeah, you're lucky.
His speed isn't slowed by his sword's weight at all. Gotta hamper his movements and get that book out of his hands. He found me!
I am not at all used to Deku's English voice, so can't speak to its accuracy. How'd you say that with your...
Now it's my turn!
Oh. Don't get me wrong, I'd love it if Deku would win. I just don't think he will.
Are you not using magic? What kind of magic emperor would I be if I can't beat a guy like this? Detroit Smash!
How dare he take his swords away? Well, that's the one that can cut, I'm pretty sure.
Detroit Smash!
How are you talking with the book in your mouth? He really was taking those smashes, though, with, like it was nothing.
I don't know what Detroit is, but I've had enough of it. I'm ending this quick! Hit me with all you've got, because I'm never going down!
Here we go, and now that Deku doesn't think the swords are sharp. That was pretty cool. You okay, buddy?
I'm not going all out anymore. I just gotta hit him really hard. You wanted my best? Here it is! 1,000,000,000%!
Which doesn't make sense still. Not as a literal thing.
I did it.
Oh. Wait, why were they sharp that time?
Take that, Detroit.
Wait, I don't understand. What happened with the swords? Hercule. What happened with the swords?
Poor
I hope he
Deku.
explains.
He tried his best, but Asta just shoved him into that great big locker in the sky.
Both Deku and Asta were fairly evenly matched melee fighters without any specific abilities to give one an easy edge over the other. Though, to be fair, the variety of quirks Deku inherited from past users of One for All did make him more versatile and unpredictable.
That's totally fair.
Plus, quirks are biological mutations, not connected to some supernatural energy source like mana. So
Right.
Asta's anti-magic powers were basically useless here.
And Deku was generally a smarter and more tactical fighter, but against
Right.
Asta's incredible might, this time Brawn
Because
beat
sometimes it's
brains.
just what can you do
Let's
to beat
crunch
them.
some numbers! Deku's greatest feat of strength was
So they are
splitting
still
that
counting
enormous
that.
cloud formation with Bakugo.
By measuring the size of the island and comparing it to the clouds above, we can determine they dispersed over 63 trillion kilograms of water.
That's the weight of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Ah.
12,000 of them.
And required an
Okay,
energy
good,
of
'cause I was like,
nearly
that's a heavy
80
pyramid.
teratons of TNT per punch.
Let's compare that to Asta. But Toli's spell was going to be strong enough to vaporize a country the size of the Clover Kingdom.
We can use this map from the manga to estimate the size of Clover Kingdom to be
Okay.
about 500 kilometers in diameter, about half the length of Great Britain. Vaporizing a country of that size would require an energy of over 480 teratons of TNT,
I
over
see.
6 times greater than Deku's punch.
While Asta uses anti-magic, it isn't an automatic counter. It needs to be comparable in strength to the spell it's combating. And Asta's gotten way stronger since.
Asta was also quicker. Sure, scaling to Shigaraki would give Deku roughly light speed reaction time.
But Asta could dodge light in his sleep.
Yeah.
That's his base form. Even before transforming with Liba to get way faster.
Which I didn't
And
even
since
consider
Deku
that
and
part.
Asta's precognitive abilities more or less matched each other, it was only a matter of time before Asta simply overwhelmed him.
Especially since Deku has struggled in the past against faster opponents. Sure, Deku was smarter, but if he literally didn't have enough time to come up with a plan of attack before getting hammered, his brains were wasted.
Deku's tactical
And
brilliance
I don't know what kind of
harem
attack he'd really
tenacity
do,
definitely
'cause what
gave
could
his
he do
opponent
to
a run
beat
for his
him?
Money. But Asta's raw power, blinding speed, and deadlier weaponry spelled the end for All Might's pupil.
Deku gave it his all, and I wish he had won. Hasta la vista.
The winner is Asta.
Claps for Asta.
Hey, if you want
So
more
they
Death
still
Metal
didn't
ASAP,
clarify
join
why
our
the swords
membership.
pierced him
You'll
at the
get
end. Are they just
exclusive
saying,
emotes, badges,
despite
live
being
chat,
blunt,
live streams,
Asta
and
forced
feature
them
behind
down
the
with
scenes
so
stuff?
much strength
Just
that
click
he
that
like
join button.
weskered
Thanks for
with
watching.
his hand? You know what I'm talking about? Next time on Death Battle, we have oh, it's the season finale. May the best fusion. It's Vegito versus Gogeta. Oh, wow. And I want y'all to know I said that before the names appeared on the screen. I'm aware of what those fusions are. Vegito is when you're wearing the earrings, and Gogeta is when you do the fusion dance. I haven't seen them in the anime, but I am aware of them. Right, so that'll be interesting. I mean, here's another interesting thing. I have actually wondered which one was stronger, and I've been told that it's Gogeta. Is that correct? I don't know. Do I trust the people who told me that? I don't know. I don't remember who told me that anymore, but I did ask that at one point, and people told me that they thought Gogeta would be stronger. Though apparently Gogeta comes first in the anime, which I always assumed Gogeta was stronger because he came later, and then just with natural, like, you know, power scaling and progression, that would be why. But what's interesting about it is that, of course, Vegito and Gogeta are both a fusion of Vegeta and Goku. You know? And so you're saying who's stronger, Vegeta and Goku this way or Vegeta and Goku this way? so that will I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be really interesting. Yeah. I mean, because we had one where it's just that, yeah, we've had one where it's the same person. We've had like the Mega Man Battle Royale, I guess. Anyway, let's talk about this death battle. So I was right, yay me. And yeah, I don't disagree with the conclusion. I don't disagree with the victor. It makes sense to me. I really didn't think they were going to use that cloud feat with the punch, but I guess even if it is considered non-canon, if that is actually Deku's strongest punch so far, then, you know, being able to measure that and say that still doesn't stand up to what Asta was able to, like, dish out and go up against, you know? Then, fair enough. I think you can use a non-canon source if it's really to say, like, look, even this wasn't enough to give him the edge that he needed. So yeah, I had kept in mind, like, Deku has, you know, the other parts to his quirk, but I just didn't think they would come into play considering what Asta was able to, like, deal. And like, I didn't remember Asta's. I honestly didn't even think about Asta fusing with, like, the actual demon and becoming more powerful. All of my thinking was before that. Just with Asta being more powerful, more durable, and faster. So, yeah. So, like, on me for forgetting that fusion was a thing, but I also didn't really need to remember because Asta had it in the bag anyway. So, yeah. That anime does get really powerful. And here's the weird thing, like, when I'm watching My Hero Academia, I'm always like, oh, this is so strong. Like, all these characters, they're, like, so powerful, blah. But, like, if you compare it to other anime, like other shonen or power fantasy anime in general, you know, it's really not that, like, it's really watered down in comparison, which I think just goes to show how important presentation is. where you can have feats that aren't actually that impressive, just in the grand scheme of things, you know, relative to other, you know, shows or manga or whatnot. And it can still be presented in a way that has like really meaningful stakes and really seems powerful. But yes, you look at Black Clover, and the feats that were shown there are far more impressive just in terms of the raw numbers, you know, the raw damage that was done or, you know, taken. it's way higher. So yeah. No, I'm definitely impressed with what Asta was capable of. I'm impressed with what Deku turned out to be capable of too, because again, I'm just not there yet where I am in the anime. And I'm not sure, I don't think the anime's there yet either, because they definitely did pull things from the manga, or at least it seemed that way to me. But it's exciting all the same. I enjoyed the analyses for these two characters. I liked getting to hear about, you know, their origins, how they grew, you know, the rivalries they have, whether it's like a nice friendly one like on Asta's side or a not so friendly one like on Deku's side. Cool hearing about just, you know, the scaling their own development over the course of it. I really liked with, you know, Deku's side, clearing up the whole like how he started with the name Deku, the nickname Deku, and it was a bad thing because again, I'd completely forgotten that, but then how it became a good thing with Dekiru. That was just cool because I remembered that part. I liked that part of the origin with him, you know, meeting Ochako and everything. But I totally did forget that it was just already a thing that he had and that it wasn't a good thing in that case. And then Asta's, with the whole just like, he has this mutation so he can't have mana, but he tried really freaking hard anyway, and he was gifted with the Uno reverse card of Magical Tomes. And I just thought that was fun. For the fight itself, it wasn't my favorite of the animations. Like, part of it just looked kind of awkward. Like, I thought that Deku's sprite looked, I don't know, it looked like too lanky to me, which was kind of weird. I want my boy Deku to be like slightly thicker. Like, that was what I just kept thinking about. And as for the voice acting itself was fine. It wasn't my favorite, but I think a lot of that comes down to that's just not the Deku that I'm familiar with, and so it was just kind of weird to me. Because again, I watch it with English subtitles but Japanese dub, so you know it was far different from what I'm used to. But I will say that I'm very grateful we had an English voice actor for Asta, and it wasn't just Asta's Japanese voice, because while people have told me that it gets better as the series goes on, apparently that was that person's first role, so good for them. I wouldn't have wanted to have to like relive that. I did like the fight, like, so don't get me wrong, I still definitely enjoyed myself. I still thought it was a good fight. And I really liked the two, their thoughts as they went, because there wasn't really banter. They didn't really talk a ton to each other, even though I did like when they did. Like, I don't know what Detroit is, but like that part was fun. But just the realizations they would make, like Deku's like, aren't swords supposed to be sharp? And Asta's like, you don't even use magic. So then he had to beat him at that point. It was fun all around. They didn't switch around the animation style as much as I feel like they have been recently. The only time I actually remember them switching it up was after Deku did his like big final punch and was floating there with his like broken arm, you know? And admittedly, it looked weird to me. Maybe it was just because like it seemed like really washed out, and that might well be because Deku was in his like 100% full cowling kind of phase or whatever. It's like what he did with, shoot, what's her name? With Eri, where she was like constantly healing him or reversing time so he'd be healed, you know? But he gets all like really glowy and it's like this, so his green shirt and whatnot becomes this really like sort of light bluish instead. And it was probably just that, but it looked really weird to me in that animation style. And I still don't really understand, again, what happened with the swords actually impaling Deku at the end. Unless, again, it's just one of those things where, like, even though it's just Albert Wesker's hand, you know, he's so fast and powerful it just pierced anyway, so we're just saying that Asta dropped the swords down with enough force. But it certainly didn't look like it. It didn't look like they rained down super quickly. They just kind of, like, fell into Deku's back and killed him. Like, I think I probably would have been more satisfied with the ending if it had been, you know, just the two clashing together, right? Because I feel like what it was supposed to be was Deku floating there with his broken arm was supposed to be a fake out, where it's like, oh no, did he kill Asta? But I think it would have been better if it was more of like traditional sort of samurai encounter, right? Where they dash into each other, Deku, up to that point, having believed that the swords were blunt for some reason, even though they shouldn't have been, you know, like, just getting sliced up by Asta using the demon sword. You know? I think that would have been better for me. I think it would have made more sense with just, like, because you could have still shown Asta being all, like, weak from the punch. He wouldn't have been obliterated, clearly, but, you know, and then you could see Deku fall apart afterward in the background. It could have been, like, a silhouetted sprite, so you didn't have to see the gory stuff. Did they already do that in previous death battles? Sure, but not this one. So those are my thoughts on this death battle. So let me know what you all thought about this death battle in the comments below, whether you liked it, whether you disliked it, what you thought about this or that, etc., so on and so forth. And next time we will be watching Vegeta versus Thor, or Thor versus Vegeta. I don't remember which, but yes, I was busy with the holidays, and so I didn't upload one Saturday. But that is what's coming up next. And then we have, hopefully, another one after that. I don't know what it is. And then we'll have Vegito versus Gogeta. So I hope you're looking forward to that. So yes, with that, we're calling it here. So have a good one, everybody.